The first flurries fall like whispered secrets across the grounds of Wynthorpe Hall. They come softly at first, drifting through the grey December sky in no particular hurry, settling upon stone balustrades and bare garden hedges and the frozen surface of the ornamental lake. The great house stands as it has stood for 200 years, commanding and silent, its tall windows reflecting the iron-coloured clouds like dozens of watchful eyes. Smoke curls from a half-dozen chimneys into the still, cold air, and the world beyond the estate disappears into a veil of white, as though England herself has drawn a curtain around this place and declared it separate from time. Inside, in the long gallery on the second floor, a man stands at the frost-lined window. His breath ghosts against the glass. One hand rests against the frame, and the candlelight from the sconces behind him catches the sharp line of his jaw, the controlled stillness of his posture. He watches the snow thicken. He watches the drive vanish beneath it, and the lane beyond, and the distant village church spire dissolve into nothing. He watches as though he is waiting for something, or perhaps as though he has been waiting for a very long time and has only just remembered that he still is. And then he sees her, a figure moving through the white silence of the garden below, a dark cloak against all that pale surrender. She walks with her head slightly bowed against the wind, one gloved hand holding her bonnet, the other clutching a leather-bound book to her chest. The snow catches in the loose strands of her hair, turning them silver. She does not look up, she does not know she is being watched. But something in the way she moves, steady and unhurried and quietly brave against the gathering storm, makes the Duke of Wynthorpe press his fingertips harder against the cold glass, makes him forget, for one dangerous heartbeat, every rule he has built his life upon. His name is Sebastian Wynthorpe, 6th Duke of Wynthorpe. And he is a man constructed of duty, the way cathedrals are constructed of stone. Tall, aristocratic, with storm-grey eyes that reveal nothing unless he wishes them to. He commands every room he enters without raising his voice. He inherited the title at 22, the estate at 22. The debts and the expectations, and the weight of a name older than the Tudor kings at 22. He has spent the decade since becoming precisely what the world requires of him. Controlled, commanding, correct, but there is a chamber in his chest that echoes when the house grows quiet. He was engaged once, Lady Arabella Forsyth, a match arranged by both families when they were barely more than children. It ended 18 months ago, quietly and without scandal. When Arabella confessed she loved another man, a captain in the Navy, and Sebastian released her with a grace that surprised everyone but himself. He had never loved her. That was the truth he could not speak aloud. He had been prepared to marry her, to do his duty, to fill the role. But his heart had remained untouched, and when she left, what he felt was not grief, but a terrible, clarifying emptiness. He has not sought another match since. The tongue whispers that the Duke of Wynthorpe is proud, cold, incapable of feeling. They are wrong, he feels too much. He has simply never found the soul that makes feeling safe. And then there is Elena. Miss Elena Whitby, governess to his young niece Charlotte, arrived at Wynthorpe Hall 4 months ago with a single trunk, impeccable references, and warm brown eyes that seem to hold an entire library of thoughts she does not share aloud. She is the daughter of a country clergyman, educated far beyond her station, by a father who believed knowledge belonged to anyone brave enough to seek it. When he died and left her nothing but books and principles, she did not crumble. She remade herself with quiet, fierce determination, earning her place in a world that considers her invisible. But Elena Whitby is anything but invisible. She has a gentle charm that conceals a bold heart, a directness in conversation that catches Sebastian off guard, a way of looking at him when she thinks he does not notice, that makes the air between them feel like a question neither of them dares to ask. She carries herself with a dignity that owes nothing to rank. And when she reads aloud to Charlotte by the fire, her voice is so warm and steady that Sebastian has taken to lingering outside the nursery door, listening, pretending he has business in the corridor, fooling no one, least of all himself. The storm does not relent, it deepens. By late afternoon, the lane to the village is impassable. The housekeeper reports that the servants from the lower cottages cannot return, that the supply cart from Hatherton will not arrive, that the drifts along the eastern wall are already knee-deep and climbing. One by one, the usual rhythms of the house fall still. Charlotte, delighted by the snow, has been settled in the nursery with her nurse, and the great rooms of Wynthorpe Hall grow vast and hushed, populated only by firelight and shadow. Elena intends to spend the evening quietly in her room. She has her book. She has her candle. She has the firm, practiced habit of making herself small in grand spaces, of remembering her place. But the fire in her room will not draw properly, the chimney choked with ice. And when a footman directs her apologetically toward the library, where the fire burns strong and bright, she finds herself standing in the doorway of a room she has been careful to avoid after dark. Sebastian is already there. He rises from the leather chair by the hearth, and for a moment they simply look at each other across the firelit distance. The library is warm with the scent of old paper and wood smoke. Snow ticks softly against the tall windows. The candelabra on the mantel casts his face in gold and shadow, and Elena sees, for the first time, something unguarded in those storm-grey eyes. Something startled and almost hungry. Miss Whitby. His voice is steady, but there is a pause before her name that holds the weight of careful restraint. Forgive me, I did not expect. Nor did I, Your Grace. She hovers at the threshold, the leather-bound volume pressed against her ribs like armour. My chimney has failed. I was told the library fire was. Of course, please. He gestures to the chair opposite his own. You are welcome here. Such simple words, and yet the way he says them, low and quiet and oddly tender, turns them into something more. Something almost like a plea. She sits, he sits, the fire crackles between them. Outside, the wind moans across the frozen parkland, piling snow against the doors and sealing them inside this amberlit sanctuary. And Elena realizes with a slow, warm bloom of something between terror and exhilaration that they are, for all practical purposes, alone together in the heart of the storm. The first evening passes in careful, measured conversation. They speak of books, of Charlotte's progress, of the architecture of the house. Safe subjects, respectable distances, but even within these careful boundaries something shifts. Elena quotes a passage from the volume in her lap, a collection of romantic verse. And Sebastian finishes the line from memory. And their eyes meet with a spark of surprised recognition, as though they have each stumbled upon a hidden door and found the same secret garden on the other side. By the second day, the snow has buried the world. The windows of Wynthorpe Hall are furred with frost so thick that Elena traces idle patterns in it with her fingertip, while Sebastian watches from across the breakfast table, his tea cooling untouched, captivated by the absent-minded grace of her hand. They walk the long gallery together because there is nowhere else to walk, their footsteps echoing on the polished floor. And he tells her about the family portraits lining the walls, the scandals hidden behind composed expressions, and she laughs. And the sound undoes something careful in his chest. That afternoon, she finds him in the conservatory, standing among the frozen ferns and the skeletal lemon trees, staring at nothing. She asks if he is well, and he turns to her. And the winter light through the glass ceiling falls across them both like a benediction. Blue and pale and trembling. I am not certain I know what well means anymore, Miss Whitby, he says quietly. She does not answer. She simply stands beside him, close enough that he can smell lavender and paper and the clean cold of snow on her cloak. And the silence between them is so full of unspoken feeling that it practically hums. On the third evening, the candles burn low. They sit again in the library, closer now than before. The storm has eroded the careful architecture of propriety, worn it down the way wind wears stone. Sebastian reads aloud because Elena has admitted, softly and almost shyly, that she loves the sound of his voice. And the admission hangs in the air between them like a lit match held over kindling. He reads poetry. His voice is low, roughened by something he cannot disguise. And when he reaches a passage about longing, about a love that defies reason, he stops. The silence stretches, the fire pops and settles. Your Grace, Elena whispers, and there is a tremor in it now, a crack in that composed facade. Sebastian, he says, when we are here in this room, with the snow sealing us away from the world and its expectations and its impossible, suffocating rules, my name is Sebastian. She looks at him. The firelight turns her brown eyes to amber, and he sees in them everything she has been hiding. The longing, the fear, the fierce, quiet hope that this man, this duke, this impossible, unreachable man might see her as she truly is. Sebastian, she breathes, and the sound of his name in her voice is the most beautiful thing he has ever heard. He reaches across the space between their chairs. His fingers brush hers, just that. Just the lightest possible contact, his bare hand against her bare hand, and it is as though every nerve in both their bodies wakes at once. She does not pull away, he does not retreat. They sit there, fingers intertwined on the arm of her chair, and the snow falls. And the fire burns, and the world outside ceases to exist entirely. But it does exist, and they both know it. It comes on the fourth morning, sharp as the crack of ice. Sebastian finds Elena in the gallery, her eyes red, a letter clutched in her hand. The post has been brought through on horseback by a brave and frozen groom. Among the correspondence is a letter from her cousin in London, filled with gossip, mentioning casually that the Tun expects the Duke of Wynthorpe to announce a new engagement before the season begins. That his mother, the Dowager Duchess, has been seen calling upon several families with eligible daughters. That it is his duty, his obligation, his destiny to marry within his rank. I cannot, Elena says, her voice steady even as her eyes shine. I cannot be the woman who causes a duke to forget what he owes to his name. I am a governess, Sebastian, I am no one. You are everything. The words leave him before he can stop them, raw and unguarded, stripped of every defense. He crosses the gallery in 3 strides, and he stands before her. And his hands tremble at his sides with the effort of not reaching for her. Elena, listen to me. I was engaged to a woman of perfect rank and perfect breeding, and I felt nothing. Nothing. For 10 years I have performed the role the world assigned me, and I have been hollowed out by it. And then you walked through the snow, and you sat across from me in the firelight. And you said my name, and I understood for the first time in my life what it means to want something for myself. A tear slips down her cheek, she shakes her head. The world will not permit it. Then the world is wrong. He takes her hands, both of them. He holds them against his chest, and she feels his heart hammering beneath the fine linen, rapid and real and afraid. My engagement to Arabella ended because there was no love in it. I will not make that mistake again. I will not marry for duty. I will not sacrifice the only woman who has ever made me feel whole upon the altar of propriety. His voice drops, roughened with emotion. I choose you, Elena. I choose you above rank, above expectation, above every cold and empty obligation that has ever told me who I must be. If you will have me. She looks up at him through the blur of tears and her lips part. And the word that emerges is barely a whisper, but it carries the force of every brave and quiet choice she has ever made. Yes, he kisses her. There in the long gallery of Wynthorpe Hall, beneath the watchful eyes of 2 centuries of aristocratic portraits, with snow still falling beyond the frost-covered windows. He draws her close and presses his lips to hers, and the kiss is tender and deep and trembling with everything they have held back. And it tastes of warmth and courage and the sweetness of surrender. The storm breaks on the 5th day. The sun emerges pale and brilliant over a world remade in white. And the snow-covered grounds of Wynthorpe Hall glitter as though scattered with crushed diamonds. The lane is cleared, the village church spire reappears. The house stirs back to its usual rhythms, and the servants return, and Charlotte comes bounding down the stairs demanding to build a snowman. But everything has changed. Sebastian stands at the same frost-lined window where this story began, but he is not alone. Elena is beside him, her hand resting in his, her head tilted gently against his shoulder. They watch the sunlight pour across the frozen garden, and the world beyond the glass no longer feels like a barrier. It feels like a promise. He will write to his mother today. He will inform her, calmly and without apology, that he has found the woman he intends to marry. There will be talk, there will be scandal. There will be raised eyebrows and whispered disapproval in drawing rooms from London to Bath. He does not care. For the first time in his life, the Duke of Wynthorpe is not performing a role. He is living a truth. Elena lifts her face to look at him, and he turns to meet her gaze. And the smile that passes between them is quiet, luminous, and utterly complete. He presses a kiss to her forehead, soft as the snowflakes that still drift from the eaves. And she closes her eyes and breathes him in. Outside, the last of the storm clouds dissolve into a sky of winter blue. Inside, the fire burns steady and warm. And 2 hearts that were once separated by pride and rank and silence beat now in perfect, fearless unison, snowbound no longer but bound to each other, freely and forever.